Welcome back everyone. Got something a little bit different today. What I want to talk about is the ban list, but I want to make it in the context of specifically Ace, and I want to talk about how I think the ban list is going to affect our Ace deck in the upcoming sets, the foreseeable sets anyway. Now, if you haven't seen the ban list, I've got it on screen here. I'll go through it just quickly to let you know what's happened. So, essentially, they've wanted to hit this card here. This Luffy needed a little bit of suppression, and what they've done is actually something very, very mild here. So, essentially, how this reads is you can't have your leader Luffy, just this leader, have both Katakuri and Lin running in the deck. You can only have one or the other. You can still have the 4 copies of each, of one, but not of both. So you can be this Luffy running Katakuri or this Luffy running Lin. Now, my general thoughts is I feel like the Luffy is going to opt for the Lin as a whole, because for so long, the Luffy ditched this Katakuri in preference for some other cards, and Lin was the one that stuck around because essentially with this Luffy, it can guard its life really effectively, and every life it has is worth more than a typical life for any other leader. Now, of course, Katakuri was a menace because it was able to restand itself and restand a Lin, and make that defensive pressure a little bit better. But, Luffy's just going to have these events which can, defend itself, play these nummies, it can still get blockers. I don't think it's going to be too harmed by this here. Well, at least I think in the high caliber matchups it's got against Rayleigh and Zoro, it will struggle having this hit. But I think against the, the B tier and below decks, it's still going to do okay. It's still a threat to a lot of decks out there. It's just going to, decrease its chance of winning. It's still going to be quite good. It's still able to draw cards each turn. It's still able to do that Sanji combo each turn. Really strong deck as a whole. So, this is one consideration I want to take when we're thinking about Ace, is where I think this deck is, what this deck was doing before the ban and what's it doing after, and how that will affect Ace. Now, let's just keep going through these other cards. Second thing that was banned was this Nummy. This was, I think, a preemptive ban. There was a card coming out that was a lot like Kea. That card with this Nummy was going to just make Nummy be able to win a turn earlier, essentially, and put everyone on a clock that was really hard to accomplish. Not a fun thing to have around as a deck that basically wins without interaction and could do it quite easily. So I think it was a good thing to ban this card. It is going to get replaced with a different Nummy. The Nummy is essentially the same one, except it's got an extra stipulation that it can only run East Blue cards. So it'll be weaker than the OP12 version of this Nummy. Now, exciting stuff is this Sakazuki is unbanned. It is back. It is back. Now, I'm not sure if you guys were playing when this card was rampant, but at the time, it was a very oppressive card, and there's a few reasons for it. One of the main reasons was it was very consistent, because the leader itself, it has this effect here. You may trash one card from your hand and draw one card. This is really good. It's cycling. It's essentially optimizing the hand for what it needs to do the job. Now, the other thing that it was able to do really well, like you can see here, the other effect here is just -1. This isn't terribly big, but it's very much like Lucci doing its -1. This Sakazuki having access to blue and black at the time, what it was doing was the black was minusing cost off characters, the blue was returning them to hand. And this was able to get past a lot of blockers like the Borsalino, who wasn't able to be KO'd. And at the time, there was a few cards that couldn't be KO'd, but there wasn't really any cards that couldn't be removed from the field. So having blue was a really strong effect to control the opponent. And yeah, combined with the minusing cost was a menace. Now, not only that, but this was doing tricks with its navy, doing the Rebecca Hina tricks, using Lucci also to KO 2 things at a time. It was basically able to really destroy your opponent's field while establishing its own field very easily and consistently. So that is why this deck here was doing so well at the time. Do I think it's going to do so well now? I think it's still it's going to be a high caliber deck. It's not going to be a top tier deck. It is going to be something that most decks need to contend with, and it could suppress a lot of the decks out there. I think things like Betty won't do as well into it, but I don't think Betty at the moment is a huge threat. And certainly with Luffy declining, there's less of a reason to play Betty now. So other things will have to rise, and it might be things like the Red Zoro. I think Rayleigh will still take that stance. So I'm not sure we're going to have Red Zoro players come back anytime soon. And I think Rayleigh will be able to deal with this card well enough, I feel like, anyway. So let's have a look at what else we got here. Now, Kabaji. I don't even know if this card has ever seen play. It was on the ban list pretty much from OPO2 when it came out. If you have Moji, draw 2 cards and trash 1 card from your hand. I don't think that was that bad of a card, but yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know. I think there was a good reason why it got banned, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it was on the ban list for way too long because there's plenty of effects like this already. So, and these are all the cards that are still banned, which is still Kabaji. Interesting. Anyway, so this is the ban list. This is essentially it. We didn't get Giant on the ban list, which, you know, everyone thought, including myself, because why not? But I mean, they are reprinting it in a fancy AA, so why would they hurt that? So I really do feel like that is a big part of the reason, or part of the considerations in a ban list, is what's getting printed. And yeah, this is how they've managed this current ban list. So let's have a quick look. This is OP12 in the East, and these are some of the latest games that we've got from here. Not all of these games are relevant. Some of them are really small events and probably not worth the consideration, but still nice to see what is sort of rising and what's not. Now, you'll notice if you scroll down the list, you see a lot of the same leaders pop up time and time again. And as I said before, Betty isn't one of those ones. Now, it doesn't mean that Betty's not high in these top tiers. She's just not placing at the very, very top. So keep that in mind. But the ones that you're seeing quite often is the Rayleigh. You're seeing Rayleigh. You're seeing Smoker. You're seeing Zoro. And we are seeing Green Purple Luffy is another one that I think we need to watch out for. And we are seeing a bit of this Blue Purple Luffy, but I think that's going to decline. And Marco, a couple of Marcos. There's a couple of ones that we're seeing a few of here and there, which you'd expect to be close to the top. These are the ones that are sort of positioned at the same place of Ace. They're not the ones to define the meta, but they certainly can break through the meta quite easily. So, where do I think we're going to end up? Well, I've already posted some videos on how we can beat Zoro quite easily. I've also talked about how we can have a good matchup into Rayleigh. I think they're still going to be the top two. Luffy is going to be less oppressive on those two decks, and I think they're just going to continue to rise. I don't think there's any deck that Luffy was really holding back that can actually have a great time into these decks. Maybe something like Yamato, that could be even stronger now. I don't think Yamato was actually that suppressed by Luffy though, but it's going to be one of those decks that sort of runs at the 9,000 cost level characters, and I mean Shanks possibly. Shanks might have a better time now. So yeah, it's going to be sort of trying to see what emerges from that lower list that Luffy was suppressing that could actually impose on our ace deck. I don't see a lot though that we have to worry about. We run at that same 9,000 level. I'm going to say that our Oden is at 8,000 power, so it's around that same level. The decks that are going to rise are ones that we are going to be able to deal well with. Because we have the heal and we have a hard to remove body, I think we're going to be okay. And now let's jump to Sakazuki, because that's the other condition here. Is one is what was Luffy suppressing? The other thing is how well will Sakazuki do in the current meta? And my thoughts around Sakazuki is he's not going to be able to remove Oden for a start. And if he can't remove Oden, he's not going to have a good matchup into us. We're going to be able to control him well enough, I believe, that we're not going to have to worry. We're going to have to take a more aggressive plan with Sakazuki. We can't delay it too much because they'll be fine with a delayed game. They'll just recur things with Rebecca, build up a wall, and chip away at us. So we can't let that happen either. We just need to go for an aggressive plan. So once the PRB ace comes out, we're not having any worries against this Sakazuki. And even before the PRB ace, I think we're still going to have a good time. So I guess that's the ban list as a whole. There's not too much more that I want to talk about. The Smoker could be a problem. I also think Bonnie could rise actually with the absence of this deck here. I think Bonnie's actually going to have a pretty good time. And I think this Luffy is our other one that we need to worry about. So we need to make sure we're armed with things that can deal with Bonnie as one. And this EBO2 Luffy, this will be the other one that we really need to watch out for. So I will try and cover some videos that do verse this green purple Luffy and the Bonnie when I find some good ones, and it will take time because a lot of the people on the ranked won't be playing those decks right away. They'll start emerging, and once they do, then I'll have some good games that I can show you. But until then, we'll leave it there. I want to know, actually, just to help the whole crew out, let me know what matchups you are having difficulty with your current ace build. Let me know, is it the PRB build? Is it OP12 build? What build are you running and what matchup are you struggling with? And that'll just help the whole community here work out where our ace is struggling and what we need to do to enhance him, or what matchups we need to watch out for. Should we actually alter our deck for this odd matchup, or should we just keep pursuing and making sure we can dominate the top? That's all I want to talk about today. Thanks for sticking around. I'm glad we had this chat. And until next time, look after yourselves and look after your decks.